Well, and speaking of the come up, man, let's jump down finally to College Station, where again I got an interview here with Jason Howell of TexAgs. Going to get to that in just a second. But we had some news here at A&M. Two bits of news. Offensive line coach Josh Henson is leaving the program, going to Southern Cal. But it kind of makes sense when you consider he's not leaving for a lateral position. He's leaving to be Lincoln Riley's offensive coordinator at Southern Cal. So I think that's a little bit easier to stomach there if you're Texas A&M. You lose your offensive line coach who has a history of being an offensive coordinator at Missouri. Now he's going to be getting his role at offensive coordinator with Southern Cal. So we got an opening at defensive coordinator. We got an opening on offensive line. Jimbo Fisher. Those are two paramount positions that need to be filled. We all know the job Mike Elko's done, but think about Texas A&M in 2020, the Maroon Goons, 4 or 5 in the NFL this year. Took a little while to get things situated, but by the midway point of the season, the offensive line was once again a strength of this Texas A&M unit. So losing Josh Henson, that's a tough blow. You got plenty of talent on that offensive line, though, and now Jimbo has got to find the right pieces to plug in there to keep Texas A&M reaching higher heights on the field after such a historic recruiting class signed this offseason in College Station. And one other note here before we get to our interview, Jalen Watermeyer has announced he's off to the NFL. Not surprising in the least bit. He's going to be a high-round NFL draft pick, you got to assume. But he's also opting out of the bowl game. So a little bit of a blow there for Texas A&M, an offense that's already going to be missing several pieces. You're going to be missing your starting tight end. The good news is, you just signed a recruiting class with 3 of the top 10 tight end prospects in the country, and that is something we hit on with Jason Howell of TexAgs to break down this historically great Texas A&M signing class. All right, we're pleased to be joined by Jason Howell. He's a TexAgs senior recruiting analyst. That's the go-to site for Texas A&M football recruiting and everything Aggies. You can follow Jason at Jason_Howell. Thank you so much for joining me, Jason. After, I cannot imagine the week you guys have been having over there at TexAgs. So I really appreciate the time.
Absolutely. It's it's been unbelievable over there. Just kind of following it and covering it all the same. It's just been nuts.
Now, this may be a difficult question to answer, but if you can put your finger on one or two things that this legitimately is probably the greatest signing class in Texas A&M history, and we're talking well over a 100-year period here. What's been the keys to Jimbo Fisher and the Aggies putting this class together?
Well, I'll say this is undoubtedly the best class in A&M history, at least in the modern era of recruiting rankings. And, it's, a lot of relationships and a lot of the prospects doing the recruiting. Bobby Taylor has been phenomenal as a leader in the class, and he's been joined by guys like Donovan Green and some of the other recruits that have been longtime members. Jimbo Fisher is about as strong a closer as you will find in college football. In talking to parents and to prospects alike, it's just how genuine that the vibe they get off of him, and just in every conversation, he's very involved in the recruiting process, and when it comes time to put pen to paper, it's there's an easiness there, and a trust that is felt. And when you have guys like Elijah Robinson doing what he's doing on the defensive line, well, at Terry Price, Elijah and Terry are just they get after it as well or better than anybody in the country. the success they have had at Texas A&M. We're hearing a lot of, well, now they have to win talk. Well, I mean, they did just come off a one-loss season in 2020, and we're right there knocking on the door of the playoffs. And, this year, 21 did not go according to plan if looking at the preseason, but there were also some clear reasons why, from an injury standpoint and things like that. But, there's a feeling between the resources available and facilities, education, the platform for NIL, and all that stuff. Being in Texas and in the SEC, it's a very attractive package for recruits. And I think I hit more than a few notes there, but that's kind of how it all came together. These guys have a plan, and they do a great job of relaying that to prospect and parent, and it's paying huge dividends in 2022.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned the NIL because I did want to ask you about that. I know that's something that even TexAgs has participated in, and it's been very successful for a lot of the Aggies down there. And when you got a program like a Texas A&M that is right on the cusp of potentially winning an SEC championship, potentially going and winning the college football playoff, yet they have not achieved that in recent history. So you got just a passionate, hungry fan base that is willing to do what it takes to push the program over the top. How much do you think that NIL here and, of course, moving forward is going to help the Aggies in recruiting and just, having them maintain one of the elite programs in the country?
I think A&M is set up very well in regards to the platform that is there for to facilitate NIL opportunities. It's a high-profile program and in a football-hungry state. It is there's a great alumni base that is attractive for people looking for student athletes that definitely want those that might be attractive for a wide audience. There's a lot of things that allow not just Texas A&M. I think NIL. If you're in the SEC and you're a big power player, chances are you're going to have a pretty good NIL program. Mm-hmm. And we saw it with Alabama and Bryce Young before the season even started. He, with some of the numbers that were being thrown out there and speculated about what he might be making. So, the opportunities are there, and if you shine in a big program in the SEC, there's a good chance you're going to be making some pretty good coin. So, it's A&M definitely provides that, and I think being in Texas and the wide reach of the alumni base and how A&M has been at the forefront of allowing their athletes those opportunities. It's all played a big role, and I don't know the specifics of what Jimbo's pitch is when it comes to NIL opportunities, but it's definitely something that's talked about, and as far as, hey, you'll have an opportunity. you can see it. You don't have to talk the raw numbers and all that kind of stuff. That kind of thing happens organically.
Now, the Aggies currently have the number one recruiting class. Looks like they're going to finish with that. But as wild as that may sound, the Aggies may not be done. So what's your confidence level that Texas A&M could add another elite prospect or two to this class?
It's really high. I feel like they're in a great position for 5 stars, Harold Perkins, the nation's number 1 linebacker, right there in Houston. And he's set to announce at the Under Armour All-American game. So sounds like we'll find out an answer to his decision in early January. And then they're set up really strongly with Shamar Stewart out of Miami. And they're in his top 3. I know he's talked about he wants to do a February announcement, and he took a visit to A&M right before the early signing period, and I won't be surprised at all if he returns. As a matter of fact, they've said, hey, we're going to come back, but it's one of those you believe it when you see it kind of deals, just because recruiting can fluctuate. The news can change in a moment's notice. But, they've set themselves up very well with Shamar Stewart. And Jacoby Matthews is another one to watch. So they out of Ponchatoula, Louisiana, top safety prospect, regarded as a 5-star by some, and one of the top priorities A&M has had for a while. So all 3 of those guys I could see ending up in maroon and white. But it's one of those things when it comes to these 5-star, recruiting battles, it's never over until it's over. Even Walter Nolen, who had been, solid up until, of course, when it comes time, there's rumor out there, he's going to wait. No, and then it kind of goes back and forth. So it's, it's always fun to watch, and the ebbs and flows, and it's always going to be a fight to ultimately seal the deal. But like I said, Jimbo does it as well as anybody in the country, and he has even before he got to A&M. So he's a proven recruiter, and that staff is full of proven recruiters as well.
I'm glad you hit on 5-star Walter Nolen, because I wanted to ask you about him next. I didn't realize this until I saw you point it out on TexAgs, but he is the highest rated recruit the Aggies have ever signed in the modern 247 Rivals ranking era, even higher than Myles Garrett. And we all know how difficult it is to come in and make a difference, particularly on the line of scrimmage in the SEC. But do you think Walter Nolen is the type of prospect that, I'm not saying he's going to come in here and be the best player in the country, but do you think he'll make an instant impact for the Aggies next season?
I think there's definitely a very, very good shot. The A&M has done a good job. On the defensive line, it's tough to make an instant impact, but it's also a spot where, you have your starters, but you have those guys rotating in and out, and you have to have a good at least 2, sometimes 3 deep, and he's a guy that can come in and do some real damage. Shamar Turner was a 5-star out of DeSoto, Texas, that worked his way into the mix this last year. McKinley Jackson was a guy that he signed out of Mississippi a couple years ago. Immediately as a freshman, he found his way into the rotation. And I think Walter Nolen has that kind of makeup for sure to get in there and really do some things. You watch what he does from a size standpoint. I think he's definitely ready. From an explosive, football nastiness in the trenches, he definitely has that kind of ability as well. So, if he can get in there and learn some of the plays, I got a feeling they're going to have a hard time keeping him off the field. I mentioned McKinley Jackson. DeMarvin Leal is another one. So they're going to give the best guys a chance to get on the field, and especially on that defensive front. I have a hard time feeling, if he's healthy and he comes in ready to go, I got a feeling he's going to see some playing time and make his presence felt.
Now, one of the biggest impacts in this class, in my opinion, 5-star receiver Evan Stewart, Texas A&M could use some explosiveness there in the receiving core. How big of an impact do you think he could make next season for the Aggies?
Well, and it's not just that he's an explosive, versatile player. This is a refined route runner. He knows the route tree inside and out, and he is a guy that trains relentlessly. He didn't play a whole lot this fall. Opted out there at Liberty in Frisco, but my goodness, that's a guy that I anticipate coming in early. He'll be an early enrollee. I anticipate him in the spring making some real noise because, like you said, he brings an element I know A&M's really looking for in that receiving core, and that's that guy who can take the top off the defense, and he can be used in so many different ways, whether it is getting the ball in jet sweeps, or you can work him in so many different ways. He can play slide, he can play outside, and he can do a tremendous amount and add another element to that offense that can take A&M to the next level.
Are there any other signees aside from Walter Nolen and Stewart that you kind of have pegged as guys that could make a big impact next season on the field for Texas A&M?
Well, I think you look at those other 5-star D linemen. You say other 5 stars, but Gabriel Brown-Odindi was one of the top recruits and had been since I think his sophomore freshman year there out of Lakeland. Anthony Lucas, who picked A&M over Alabama, Notre Dame, and a few others. I could see those guys kind of getting in there. They're similar in style and versatility to a DeMarvin Leal who could play inside and outside, and that's something that A&M's going to be looking for with him going off to the NFL. You've got Smoke Bowie out of Bainbridge, Georgia, who could factor in not only in the secondary but in the return game. Denver Harris, a 5-star cornerback out of Houston, is another one that they just had a freshman All-American in Tyreek Chappell, but I could see some of these guys getting in the mix, at least rotating in and finding their way onto the field in some key situations. There's so many guys from top to bottom, but Le'Veon Moss is a guy. If he comes in healthy, ready to go, he could find his way into the running back rotation. The quarterback room. Connor Wegman, he's got that gunslinger mentality to him, great arm, athleticism. He's got some people talking, he's got some Johnny football to his game. Let's not call him Johnny Manziel, but he definitely has some of those aspects to his game where he just seems to make players around him better and plays, not a very vocal guy, at least off the field, but his teammates love and respect him and would go to the ends of the earth for him. So, he's another one to watch, but there's a lot of them. And I think this class is going to be fun to watch over the next few years.
Now, it's hard to say any of these players may be underrated because, my goodness, they're all 5 and 4 stars. But is there maybe one signee that stands out in your mind that may be a little underrated as he begins his college career?
I would throw out Martrell Harris out of the Woodlands. He's a guy that a lot of people, at least outside the region, didn't know about so much because he had transferred. So he had to sit out a year, sophomore year, and then he got hurt as a junior. But he is when it comes to an explosive, violent linebacker, a guy who can bring it off the edge and can also drop into coverage and do a lot of a lot of things for you at the linebacker position. Montreal Harris is that guy. He picked the A&M over Texas, and LSU came on late, he's a guy that I think is a bit under the radar, and he's somebody that I'd circle as one to watch. And as far as that goes, another one, Noah Thomas, receiver out of the Houston area. His uncle Broderick Thomas was an All-American there at Nebraska, and he is 6'5", 190 pounds, a 400-meter guy. I want to say he's a state champ. I may be wrong there, but he's really good on the track and has just had a phenomenal senior season. And and another one, Mark Naboo out of Seattle, Washington. This was a guy came to camp 6'4", 330 pounds, and he showed up at A&M summer camp, and A&M said, "Okay, we want to bring you back on an official visit," like the next week, and then it was game on from there on. They weren't letting go. They ended up secured his commitment over USC, mainly there at the end. But there's a few guys in there, but yeah, those really jump out to me. And if I'll throw one more out to you, and this guy is one that I'm personally rooting for. His dad played in the NFL, and he's a bit undersized, about 6'2", 260, known for speed, especially there at the 3 technique, can also play some defensive end. Jaden Scarlett out of Argyle, Texas. Just a phenomenal story. His father passed from COVID early in the season, and it's just didn't have the senior season he would have hoped for, I think, from an injury standpoint and things like that. But when he is at 100%, that kid has the quickest get off of anybody in this recruiting class, and that is the best D-line class I've seen that I've personally covered in 20 years of covering recruiting. And he has the quickest get off. He's a bit undersized, and I could see him being somebody that situationally maybe early on starts to make his presence felt a little bit.
Now, one late addition, I don't know if you really can count this as part of the signing class here, but A&M added Max Johnson, the former LSU quarterback. So I just wanted to get your quick thoughts on that. And, of course, they maybe more importantly added his brother, the number 1 tight end prospect, Jake Johnson.
Yeah.
And we know Jimbo Fisher and his long history with, I think he does a better job than anybody of producing these elite tight ends like Wademeyer and Sternberger and just go back to his FSU days. So thoughts on picking up the Johnson brothers late in the process? And do you think Max Johnson, who, a lot of people, especially LSU fans, kind of upset with him, but I always thought he was a lot better than people gave him credit for, and I think he was just poorly coached there at LSU. Do you think he could factor in as a potential starting quarterback, if not next season, at some point in his career at A&M?
Absolutely. I mean, what he brings that nobody else has in that quarterback room right now with the departure of your backup, jumping into the portal, it's experience and a lot of it in the SEC, and you can't manufacture that. You can't coach that. So he's been there. He's been in live action. He's seen and felt what that is to walk into opposing, stadium and have those defenses keyed up on you. Now he's not without faults. People criticize the arm and some of the things like that, but I'll say this, he put together a heck of a last drive against A&M there, and I'm sure there's some Aggies going, hey, he can't beat us if he's on the same sideline. So, at the very least, they won't have an L because of him next fall. And I think what he brings in terms of, just helping out that quarterback room, plus he just elevates that quarterback room to a degree, and I think he'll have every opportunity to come in and fight for that job.
All right, last question for
you. And then, like you said, I gotta bring up Jake. I mean, geez.
Oh yeah.
That was that tight end group: Donovan Green, Jake Johnson, and then the Swedish guy Theodore Mellanostrom, who went to camp everywhere this summer. And I mean, Saban offered him, I think, after one reception or something, at a 4.55 40 at 6'5", 240 pounds. So that is some serious talent right there. And Jake is as polished as it comes from a receiving standpoint. He's going to come in early as well, and he'll be a guy that I don't know if he sees the field, but he's definitely a guy that is going to have what it takes from a football IQ to come in and learn that system. And at tight end, where A&M's not gonna, it looks like they're gonna need some experience there. So
I'm really glad you mentioned Theodore, because I was not gonna attempt to butcher his name there. So thank you for clarifying that. But hey, Jason, I appreciate all your time. I just got one more question for you, and
sure.
It's just because I don't have any insight into this. I was thinking maybe you guys over at TexAgs do, but Mike Elko off to Duke, getting the head job. He's been an outstanding defensive coordinator for them Texas A&M Aggies. And now I think this is the biggest question of the offseason. Who is Jimbo going to hire? And, I think given the talent on hand, I mean, this has got to be maybe the top coordinator position available in the country. Do you guys have any insight into where Jimbo may be looking for his next defensive coordinator?
Well, I tend to leave the team questions up to Billy, but from his reports, it sounds like they're taking a look at some options. I haven't heard any concrete names. Of course, the rumor mill's been out there with this guy and that guy, but as far as these are the top three names or whatever, I can't say that for sure, but. There's been talk of maybe an in-house hire as well, and maybe doing some promoting from within. But like you said, I think whatever happens there, and part of the reason why you didn't see a lot of class defections, because this happened before signing day, and you could have seen guys decide not to sign, and that did not happen. As a matter of fact, they just added to that on signing day. And a part of that is because with Jimbo Fisher's stability and the resources and the budget he has for his coaches, like you said, it's a very attractive job. And that defensive group that is already signed and what you could potentially add to that is extremely high quality, and so you got the chance to go in and coach a phenomenal group of guys, one of the most talented groups in the country, and compete against in the best league in the nation. So, yeah, I have no problem and no worries believing that there's going to be a pretty quality candidate that emerges and eventually gets named for that position.
All right, he's Jason Howell. Got to give him a follow at Jason_Howell for all your Texas A&M recruiting needs. He's the senior recruiting analyst over at TexAgs.com. Jason, thank you so much for all this insight and for giving me so much time.
Absolutely, anytime. Thanks for having me.
All right, so just want to say thanks to Jason for joining the show. Really, really appreciate it. First time had him on the show. Definitely going to have to get him back at some point to talk some Texas A&M football. But